here. I'm back to do part one of my December reading wrap up. So, I am going to talk more stats in like a later video during Bookmas. But I am pleased to report that I have finished my goal of reading 200 books. This has been a goal I've had since I started on Goodreads, like way back. And I think my first year on Goodreads, I think I read like 60 books. And it just kept going up, and I've always wanted to read 200 books. It's been my lifelong dream. And I think just between COVID and me really reading more and not having many other things to do, I really accomplished it. Now, I know that I'm not sure if this is going to be a continual thing, but I'm happy that I had read 200 books. Probably going to read more like 205 by the end of this because I still have a couple of reads I do want to read because right now it is December 26th, so I have like another week left of the month. I'll probably read a couple of more books. But I just want to wrap up all the Christmassy reads that I wound up reading this year because I wound up reading quite a few of them. I split it into two major reading vlogs, one that you saw or will see earlier in Bookmas, and one that you'll see probably in early 2021 probably because I don't think I have enough days. We'll see. I might post it earlier. We'll see. But yeah, overall, I'm having a really good reading month. And I have had a really fun time reading Christmassy reads. I really enjoyed most of them, but okay, enough about that. Enough about me blabbing. But I want to talk about the one major audiobook that I read, which is a reread for me, and that is 10 Blind Dates by Ashley Elston. This is my third time reading it, and I have to admit, this is definitely one of my favorite Christmas reads I've ever read, and this is my third time reading it, but listening to the audiobook was super enjoyable. I don't know and haven't read this story, it basically follows a girl named Sophie, and she has a big Italian family, which I can relate to because I have a big Italian family, and seeing her family work together reminded me so much of my own growing up. But basically, she gets dumped the week before Christmas, and her grandma is like devastated that she is so heartbroken. So she enlists her family members, and they set up 10 blind dates leading up to Christmas. She's not planning the dates, her family members are. And it was just so charming. I think it captured cousin dynamics so well. It just captured like family dynamics, and it just made me feel like I like want this family as my own, and I gave it 5 stars. I loved it. This is my third time reading it. Last year, I don't know what it was, but there was so few Christmassy reads out. Like I think that there was like 3 Christmassy reads out last year that I knew of. So I think I read it like twice because I needed something else Christmassy and I couldn't find anything else. This year there was a lot more, clearly. But I still really like that one and really excited that it's getting a sequel or a companion book that's coming out in the summer. And it's not a Christmassy read, but it's a summer read, and I'm really excited for that one. So that one I wound up giving 5 stars. If you've not checked that out, you don't have to read it during Christmas time, but it was just a really, really fun read with strong family dynamics. And if you're looking for books about cousins, I've read a couple this year that were like very cousin focused. I'd recommend it. And then the first book I read for 'Tis the Season It On was Tinsel, The Girls Who Invented Christmas. I see a Pounder. I'm probably saying that wrong. But this book was, again, a charming read. It's basically, what if somewhere along the way we got the Santa story, a bit wrong? And again, I really like this one. I thought this was such a fun way to recreate Christmas or like tell Christmas story in another way. It follows these 2 girls, and they're the girls that invented Christmas. And I just thought it was great. I thought it talked so much about female empowerment and girls doing what they want. I love the magic system in this. The elves in this book were really, really fun. It talked a lot about having your own interests. There was a fun trio of characters that developed, a unique villain, and I really liked it. I wound up giving it 4 stars, and it was just so charming. And I had never read anything by this author before, but I'm definitely gonna look her into reading some of her books over the Halloween holiday, like Halloween next year, because it's like she has a series called Witch Wars, and she has another series called Bam Mermaid. So I'm gonna add those to my TBR and maybe read them in the appropriate season. But this one I wound up really liking and wound up giving it 4 stars. And then the next book is definitely one of my favorites of this reading vlog, and that's All I Want for Christmas by Wendy Laga. This was one of those underline paperback novels that came out. I think this one came out in November. I have another one that I haven't read yet, but I might do that in my New Year's Eve reading vlog. We'll see. But this follows a girl named Bailey. She works at a bookstore, and she has some wintry fun as she's hunting for a boy to share her New Year's Eve kiss with. And it was just really, really cute. Or maybe it's a Christmas kiss. It will be December to Remember, filled with real life Christmas magic, and she stays on the Santa's Nice list. I think this one ended at Christmas Eve, but it may have ended on New Year's Eve. I can't remember. But there was a bookstore, there was animals involved, there was a plot twist in this book. I used to watch Port Charles, my soap opera, back in the day, and there was a plot twist at the very end of this that was really like reminiscent of the Miracles Happen arc in Port Charles. I don't want to give it away because I'm going to ruin the book, but this was such a cute and fluffy contemporary, and I loved it. I think this is, again, one of my favorite contemporaries I read this month, just because it was so fluffy, so cute, had a great setting, and it just put a smile on my face. I read it super fast. I love Bailey as the main character. Bailey reminded me a lot of myself in this book, and she was adorable. I really hope she writes more in the future. I'm definitely going to add her to my authors to watch list for 2021. But it was cute, it was adorable, and I will definitely be checking out more by this author in the future. All I Want for Christmas definitely set me up for a little bit of failure, I'll say, because the other three contemporaries I read were not fluffy and sweet, and I think they let me down just a little bit. That one I gave like 4.75 stars. I really like these. The rest I'm going to talk about, I'm only going to give like 3 stars too because I like them, but they weren't exactly what I was looking for. So the first one is The Inner Holidays by Christina Lauren. I've read a couple of books by Christina Lauren, and my favorite one is definitely The Unhoneymooners by them. This one is basically follows a girl named Malin, I think her name is? May. We'll call her May. And she winds up going to her Christmas cabin with her found family, like her family and her mom and her dad are divorced, but she goes with like this other family. And her trip her day keeps restarting. Like she keeps going back to the plane and like reliving the day. And it was interesting, but I felt like the Groundhog Day element wasn't consistently used. So you had like her flashing back like so many times at the start of the book, and then eventually that just stopped. And I liked it. I thought it was interesting. Like there was definitely like a love to hate romance, a blast from the past romance, but not like not a lot. Like I'll say this like in a couple other ones, like Christmassy stuff didn't really capture me. It was more like hard hitting. There was like some like relationship drama, and then there was some stuff happening with the cabin. And I liked it. I just didn't love the relationship, I'll be honest. I read it. I enjoyed it. I only gave it 3 stars. I'll probably give this to a friend when I'm done reading with it, or my coworker, whenever I can see them again. I liked it. It's definitely not my favorite. I thought the pacing was a little bit weird, and I think the Groundhog Day element could have been incorporated a little bit more. But I did like the found family element, like creating your own family. I like that. And I like the main character. She just wasn't my favorite. So this one I wound up giving 3 stars to. The next book on this was Mind the Gap, Dash and Lily by Rachel Cohn and David Levithan. This is the 3rd Dash and Lily book. I also this month watched Dash and Lily's Book of Dares on Netflix, so I really like the first book. The next 2 books in a series are always harder. I'll say that, especially if you're following the same couple, because you spend a book, you have to put that couple together, and then if you give them sequel books, you kind of try to break that couple up consistently. And I always struggle with that because I just want my couple happy. Like, I just want my couple happy. I want you to give me a book that has a solid epilogue. I know that they're happy. But when you give them companion books, you have to break them up. And with the next one, the 12 Days of Dash and Lily, Lily was dealing with a lot, which I struggled with. And this one was set in London, which I overall I liked, but Dash was dealing with a lot. And I think it was a harder book to like for both of them. The one positive, I would probably give this one like 3.5 stars. It did talk a lot about self-discovery and doing things for you and not for your family. and following your own path. So I like that, and I liked how it ended. I like seeing characters again, and I just like seeing them kind of like go in their own way and find their own path. The family dynamics in this book was a little bit harder, but I did like the setting change. So, yeah, I wound up giving this 3.75 stars. Definitely not my favorite, but definitely not my least favorite. I would say it's probably like middle of the road. Still definitely recommend you read the first one for sure, and definitely check out the Netflix series for sure. And then the last contemporary book that I read was Recommended for You by Laura Silverman. This is a book that follows Shoshana Greenberg. She is Jewish. It is set around the holidays, and the bookstore she works she works for there, and there's a Christmas competition. Whoever can sell the most books to customers gets like a bonus, and her car is having a lot of issues, so she is going to use that money to save her car. Her moms are fighting a lot and having a lot of drama that's adding a lot of stress to her life. But when a young boy named Jack kind of throws a wrench into her plan to win it, it gets interesting. It was a really fun read, super short, and the romance didn't do it for me. Like I didn't love the romance. I liked it. Jake was really mean to her for like the first, like, this book is not even that long. It's like not even 300 pages. So for the first 100 pages, he was really mean to her, and everyone was like really mean to her, and like her mom and her and Jake felt like it was a little bit like cruel a little bit. Like I was like, I don't know why they're being so mean to her. Maybe I related to her a lot. I saw a lot of reviews that was saying like she's immature and she's very, very selfish. I didn't really see that. So that's just my take. But I liked it. There wasn't enough time for me to buy into the romance. I did really like the bookstore elements, and I like the side characters that developed. But yeah, I would have needed a longer book to really dive into the relationship or have them like each other a little bit sooner. So I wound up giving this one 3 stars. I liked it, but it wasn't my favorite. And then the last book that I'm going to chat through for this wrap up is The Christmas Soros by Tom Fletcher. Like Tinsel, The Christmas Soros follows a young boy named William Trundle. This one, and his dream is to get a dinosaur for Christmas. And Santa comes through in a very unexpected way. So this book is mostly set over like 48 hours, I'll say, in the lead up to Christmas. But there is about like 50 pages in this book that is about, their North Pole, what happens in the North Pole. And then it leads into him getting a Christmas Soros. And at the end of this book, the surprise at the end of this book was super shocking to me. But I liked it. I just thought it was great. I love the representation. I love when fantasy books get representation. He's in a wheelchair, and I liked it. I thought it was great. It was another good Santa development story, and I just liked how it talks about believing in yourself. And, this book did have a lot of bullying in it. That's one trigger, like a lot of bullying. I would say there's a few scenes at the start of this book between him and Brenda that are really hard to read because she really goes for the jugular in some of his things, and everything gets washed out in the end. Like, I think it does get resolved. But it was a really, really fun read. It really put a smile on my face, and there's actually a sequel to this, and I didn't get around to reading it, so probably add it to my 2021 Christmas reads. I'll have to remember about it. But I wound up giving this one 4 stars for review, and I really liked it. So this one had some disability rep, just as a note. Also had some bullying triggers. That's nice. And I also wanted to talk about a couple of other trigger notes because I forgot. This one does have LGBTQ references in the mom, but it also does have a lot of talk of divorce and parent fighting. So just know that. And this, from Mind the Gap, Dash and Lily, does have some anxiety and depression representation, especially in regards to Dash. And you saw it a little bit in the other books, but it really, like, hardcore presented itself in this book. So overall, I read 7 Christmas reads. I would say my favorite is probably All I Want for Christmas, and it's tied between Tinsel and The Christmas Soros because those I really liked. So let me know in the comments what are some of your Christmassy reads that you read this year and what are your favorite, and I'll see you guys at the end of the month for the other books that I tackled in December. Bye guys!